I was recently laid off at Google. It was my dream job and I worked really hard there, and eventually I was making over 250,000 US dollars a year there. And after initially feeling really sad and bitter because I was laid off, I'm actually feeling much happier right now. So in today's video, I want to share a few 5 tips on how you can become more resilient when a layoff hits you and how you can find happiness in any difficult situation. Tip number 1. Practicing gratitude. So losing my dream job at Google really sucked. I gave them 8 years of my life and I was always very proud when I meet someone and I tell them, hey, I work for Google. I was getting more and more bitter with each passing day, thinking how unfair it is to just take away something that I worked so hard for. That was when practicing gratitude became very important for me to rediscover my happiness. In my case, I reminded myself that when I was 12 years old, the banks came to foreclose my home because my family was deeply in debt and we were living paycheck to paycheck. So if you told me then that I would one day work for a company like Google and make a crazy $250,000 a year before stock and bonuses, I would have laughed you out of the room. Also, I had to remind myself that in today's economy, there are so many people out there that would gladly have a job that pays half as well as what I had. And instead of feeling sorry for myself, I'm actually feeling really grateful for having something so awesome to lose in the first place. So if you are facing a layoff yourself, I want to encourage you to try being grateful for the things that you already have in your life. And hopefully that can reset your mood and bring you more motivation to face your challenges head on. Tip number 2, avoiding more stress and burnout. Okay, when a company needs to do layoff, that means that they are going through a tough time. That also means that everyone in the office is worried if the layoff will impact them too. That's why you sometimes hear people who got laid off say things like, "Whew, I'm so relieved that it finally happened." In the 6 months before I was laid off, rumors were already spreading around the office. And I remember dreading going to the office because everyone there was just speculating when the layoff was happening, and that whole vibe was really negative. It also became very common for many teams to overcommit what they can deliver to their bosses in hope of not getting laid off. That meant that targets suddenly became very high and even unrealistic. So that brought further burnout, and eventually people were also asked to leave because they couldn't deliver on those high targets. Looking back, this layoff was a blessing to me because my ego wouldn't have allowed me to leave and I would have subjected myself to even more burnout. So when something bad happens to us, it's either a blessing or a lesson. A layoff can be a blessing for you to avoid further burnout, or it can also be a lesson that maybe you should move on and try something new like working for yourself. Tip number 3, have some FU money. Okay, so this is some strong language right here, so let me explain. Every time you are thrown into a difficult situation, such as getting laid off, you will feel a lot less awful if you have options. And that's the beauty of having FU money, because it gives you options. In my case, I graduated right after the 2008 subprime financial crisis, and I saw so many people laid off suffer because they didn't have any savings. So I knew early on that I needed to start saving. However, it was really difficult to do that because, like I said, I grew up living paycheck to paycheck, and I was very tempted to finally buy myself all the shiny new things. Working in Google made it even more difficult because everyone around me was going to the coolest holidays and buying the latest gadgets. So to motivate myself, instead of calling it a savings plan, I wrote in my journal that I'm starting my own FU money. Every time I'm tempted to spend that money instead of saving it, I remind myself that, hey, that's your FU money. If anything goes wrong, you get to say FU. This is also why I think a lot of us find it hard to start saving or investing, because you cannot see the need to save for something so far in the future. But I am sure that you can relate to the feeling of being dumped, of being told that you're not good enough for this interview or that job, or that you're not experienced enough, not young enough, or not old enough for this job. So use that motivation, that fire inside you, to start building your own FU money. Oh, by the way, in my future videos, I'll be creating one where I share exactly how I built my own FU money portfolio. So be sure to subscribe so you know when that video will drop. Tip number 4 is for your mindset, and that is doing something hard every day. We live in a world where taking the easy option is often accepted and easily available. Your work sucks? Just quit and find another one. Relationship isn't going well? just break up and find another one online. What we end up creating is a culture of avoiding difficult things. So when something as difficult and painful as a layoff comes our way, we don't really know how to react. So what we can do to flip that is to willingly do something difficult every day to toughen our mind. In my case, my difficult thing is running. Okay, so when I was younger, I was in the military in Singapore and we had to go through this annual physical fitness test. One of the tests is to run 2.4 kilometers or 1.5 miles under 15 minutes or so, and I really hated that. So every year, I will find all sorts of excuses to not participate or put in the least amount of effort. So during one of those tests, I was running and panting, struggling and feeling sorry for myself, when suddenly a 50-year-old army officer ran past me and finished way earlier than I did. Every soldier there was cheering him on, and I remember going home that day feeling really ashamed for always taking the easy way out. Fast forward to today, I now run that distance every alternate morning. In fact, I just ran one earlier right before making this video. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't get any easier, but I push through that difficult moment and I feel great for the rest of the day. So when you find the discipline to do something hard, such as exercising every day or learning a new skill, you are conditioning your mind to be comfortable with difficulty. And when a layoff comes, you know it's going to be difficult, but your mind is ready to take it on. So no layoff can ever hurt you. Tip number 5, having a life outside of work. When we hear about layoffs, we often think about the financial impact, but no one really tells us about the huge social impact to your life as well. So here in Singapore, where I'm from, our jobs form the biggest part of our identity. Whenever you meet someone new here in Singapore, one of the first few questions they're going to ask you is, so what do you do for work? It's also very common for us to start hanging out a lot with our colleagues. Because we work together for so long, it becomes natural to have drinks after work or to meet up over the weekend to have brunch. Now the thing is, once you are laid off, your circle of work friends will naturally shrink. It's not that they are being particularly mean, it's just that because you're no longer in the same work environment and eventually they move on without you. So that's why I was really fortunate to have a life and friends outside of work. Like I mentioned earlier, I previously served in the military, so I could count on my friends there when I first lose my job. I also started teaching part-time at a local university. So helping my students grow and learn gave me new motivation as my confidence was starting to drop when I was getting laid off. Ultimately, it's really important for you to have a life outside of work. Join a gym, volunteer at your local community, or just stay in touch with your friends and not just work all the time. You don't want to become one of those people who build their entire lives around work and all they talk at the dinner table is work. Because when these people lose their jobs, it can get really lonely really fast. So these were the 5 tips that I did to become happier even though it was painful to be laid off from my dream job at Google. In my previous videos, I mentioned how sometimes in life, we don't jump, we get pushed. And a layoff sometimes really happen for a reason. In my case, I started this YouTube channel after I got laid off. It's still a small channel, but I have received so many of your positive comments and encouragement. It makes me so positive and motivated to continue doing this. Ultimately, trust in yourself that you are resilient and strong, and I wish you all the best in whatever you're going through right now. Please subscribe to see more of my videos and take care.